Cool, it started. So yeah, so how is it going? We were just talking about
Good.
like yesterday she took an off and then it was such a nice out of office reply I got from her and then she says she did all her activities which she mentioned on the email and her dog Max is very happy.
But I
Oh,
didn't get to the pedicure. I will soon though.
Well, we have weekend for that.
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
have to, that'll be Friday. But no, it was so refreshing. Everybody came back and you could tell they were just like so much more recharged and it was lovely. Highly encourage companies to do that. If not
Absolutely.
every Monday, can start like that.
Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, speaking about Acton and about us, I would just like to, just give you an idea about what hers is. So hers was initially, the whole idea began when my 6-year-old daughter spoke to me about this early this year in the first quarter. So we used to have these discussions about women empowerment and how she should be strong and how she is not the weaker gender and how men are complete men only with a woman. So me and my ex-wife. So yeah, she's a daughter of a single, a set of single parents. And so the other day we were having lunch, and she asked me, "You talk about Papa, you talk about women empowerment so much. Why don't you do something similar, like something of this sort for them?" And yeah, I mean, I did not have a question, and I asked my ex-wife, like, what do I answer? And then she's like, "Okay, she's your daughter, and she's asking me a question. You don't have to have an answer. You're supposed to have an action on it."
Yes.
So yeah,
I love
and
that.
Right.
yeah, and that was the beginning of hers, and then she was the one who named it. So she
That's
asked me
cool.
so she asked me what's the company going to be. I was like, it's going to be the same thing that I do, because this is the only thing I know. It's going to be lead generation. And so she's like, what are you going to call it? I don't know. And I was like, I really don't know, what do I call the company? So and then I asked my ex-wife, like, do you have any idea? She's like, no, it's hers, so ask her. And then she's like, hers is a nice name. So I was like, yeah, it is. It indeed is. So yeah, and that's where hers came from.
What a beautiful beginning of this company. I love it.
Absolutely.
Your
And
daughter
then
would be so proud of you.
I
You're
really
a good
hope
dad.
so. I really, really, really hope
Yeah.
so. And so yeah, I have just been working on her dreams and the right thing, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Where to
yeah,
put your energy,
yeah,
right?
and then we just kind of try to put a lot of heads in it. And now we live in a country where it's not that safe. India as a country. So now, though, the women that we hire in our organization are women rescued from the red light areas, from human trafficking, transgenders. And
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of gender bias thing in the Asian countries, to be very
Yes.
precise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being a father of a daughter, I really thought that I should be doing this, at least for her and for the well-being. And we all need to show our kids that the world is a great place to live in. So yeah, that's all about it. That's
Absolutely.
that's the only thing that hers does. And 60% of our earnings go to charity, and the 40% remaining after the salaries get distributed amongst the employees themselves. So yeah, we don't take anything home. It's all about women empowerment.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's what a good leader does, use their power to help others who deserve seats at the table, who deserve a chance. So good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just blessed with an amazing child.
To give you
Really
all your
good.
good ideas, all right?
Yeah, I mean,
He
yeah,
sounds great.
yeah. I mean, that's the best gift that I got. So I got to compensate for that all my life to her now.
How old is she?
She's 6.
Wow, she's gonna be a powerhouse.
Oh, I really hope so. Oh, she is one. And Arzu is one of her best friends.
Yeah.
I'm
Because Arzu,
Yeah.
because Arzu is directly working on hers. And my daughter, she comes to office twice a week or maybe thrice a week just to come and chill with these guys. She'd go and
Mm.
she'd see the laptop. How is hers doing? What is hers about? And she would just try and sit and learn with the women around. And yeah, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see where your company goes. I've been checking out the website and curious, how we can support it. So it looks really interesting.
Well, a lot of media agencies have come forward supporting us, and we already in talks with other tech companies for demand generation. And they've been coming out, like, in a very humble and good way, and supporting the cause. Currently, we are working with Integrate, Intensify, just to name a few media agencies. And then we're working with Zoho, we're working with Dynatrans. We're working on a lot of webinars, actually, in this organization. And, you know, the best part is this organization is just all about learning. You know, these women, they've been rescued. They've been rescued. They've been hired. They've been given an opportunity for employment. They've been, I mean, they just got what they deserved. And you know, there are always new people coming. It's so exciting teaching them the know-hows of the corporate world. Some of them do not even know English, so you know, we just have to start from scratch. And yeah, it's just beautiful. You know,
That's awesome.
You know, so how much? I mean, I've been blessed with the brains and money, and you know, so are we. Like, you know, we have amazing lives, and it's high time that we give back to the people around us. That's what makes a beautiful world. So yeah, that's all about it.
I am a fan of all of that. That is beautiful.
Yeah. So
That's how it should work. So I mean, I would just want to ask you, like, you know, can you just if we may just start the interview process?
Yeah,
So,
sure, we can start.
Yeah. So the first question that I have is that could you broadly describe your daily course as a VP of marketing in Acton Software?
At Act On, sure. So I
how does the day
lead,
start? How does it look like? The fun elements, the good parts,
it
the bad
starts
parts, of course.
very early. It starts very early for me. I like to get a jump up and get some things kind of moving for my team before they log on. I do set cultural like time zones for when comms start. So if I'm sending out any emails or Slack messages, they're all scheduled to start to go out at 8 a.m. So we have a hard rule in that. I don't want people to be on their Peloton and be getting a million pings from their boss. So I get in and just kind of start my communications process. I start planning my day. What do I need to get accomplished today? What fires do I need to make sure that I get put out? What items do I need to delegate? And who do I need to connect with on the exec team to make the right things happen for the marketing department? I do tend to get my hands dirty, but it's a fine line between how dirty am I going to get my hands to know what's going on, where I can still zone out of that and stay at this higher level, right, of leading the team. So that's always a constant battle for me, is figuring out how in the weeds am I going to get before I have to delegate and zoom out in order to lead the team.
Right.
So yeah, you just started day by being organized.
Yeah. You've got to have a list. You've got to stay organized. That's the only way. It's all about the list.
Yeah, and you know, we men, well, yeah, we struggle then.
Yes.
We struggle.
You got to get a list. You got to get a list going.
I mean, to what I believe is, to women, it comes very naturally. You know, they're very serious about life. They're very organized.
Yes.
But you know, I wouldn't want to demean my gender, but yeah, what's right is right, right?
Well, it's absolutely right. Isn't it, Casey?
Oh yeah, Arzu has seen me, like, you know, disorganized and, you know, just running around. Okay, where's this and where's that? And Arzu was like, okay, it was just there. And you know what? And I'm like, Arzu, how do you handle things? And she's like, you don't have to if you just remember. And I'm like, okay, you're a woman, so.
Yeah. We have to sometimes help our corporate brothers out. I find myself sending out quite a bit of reminders to the male colleagues in my team. And you know what? Eventually they start to get to like learn my patterns. Like, oh, Casey's getting a lot of stuff done. Maybe I'll start sending out notes and action items after a meeting for initiative that I'm trying to get out. So I do think it does come really natural to women because we're used to running households. We're used to I think most of the women in my life have always had a very detailed to-do list system, whether it's like, okay, I'm going to have a Word doc, and then I'm going to have a whiteboard, then I'm going to have my journal. And so I think that just comes natural, but I have noticed that some of my male colleagues are picking up on my behaviors, and it's nice, right, to be able to say like, oh, okay, you see, this is how you get stuff done. You do the list.
Actually, we now need more people like you in our organization.
Yeah.
We already have Arzu and the hers team. The Mars team is yeah, you know, it's just all right. So
it sounds like the lady of hers are helping keeping you in line, which is great.
Oh yeah, I mean, now it's just become a win-win situation. You know,
Yeah.
a gift for a daughter has just become a blessing for my own life. So yeah, I mean, it's going well now. Just like
I
you.
love it.
So yeah, my daughter is quite more organized than me. So yeah,
Oh,
she's
really?
teaching me. Yeah, she is teaching me a lot. Just the way, because as you were answering the previous question, we were talking about how organized you are. So there might be some inspiration since your childhood. So who are these women, who were inspiring you all your life right from the beginning?
Yeah, I'd say probably my mom and my grandma. My mother, she was a single mom, so she raised me on her own until I was about 5 when she married my dad, who eventually adopted me. But I saw her, she had a career in newspapers, and I saw how hard she hustled and what she did to kind of take care of us. And she also had a very full and happy life. Like she wasn't like a woman who was like sad and upset about being a single mom. Like she thrived in that
Wow,
role, right? We always had a lot of fun.
Wow.
that's
And I'd
inspiring.
say it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun together. It's like us taking on the world together, kind of, you know. And then my grandma, she's a very strong woman. She lived until 100, and she had
Wow.
5
Wow.
kids, and she
I
ruled the
mean,
roost. And she was just like, she took charge of like every situation, but not in a nasty way. Like she always had like a softness about her. Like she taught ceramics, she sewed like amazing clothes. She was always cooking for everybody, but she was definitely the one in charge of like every, situation that was going on in her house. How
Okay.
about y'all?
Me, I am very disorganized, so no one empowered me that way. My
Okay.
parents were always busy. So basically, I was born in the slums. I was a boy born in the slums, and my father really worked hard. My mom was a homemaker,
Mhm.
and yeah, my elder brother took most of the time off because he was a very studious boy, and he was always behind my mother to teach him something to learn. And I always wanted to be out, on the streets and just play. So we play a lot of cricket in India. So yeah,
I've heard, yeah.
I was always on the field, and yeah, my brother was always into books. So yeah, I believe my mom loved him, although she's still there. She might slap me for this, but yeah, I love her too. She loves me too. But then yeah, the good part my brother picked up. I'm still relying on Arzu and the other women in my office to be organized, to be very
Gotcha.
organized. But
right.
yeah, what I'm doing is I'm trying to empower. That's it. Because yeah, that's what my mom did. Because also my mom struggled a lot. So my mom was from a very rich family. She fell in love with my father, and then her parents disowned her for marrying my father. And then I saw my father working really hard.
Yeah.
When I was 13, we moved up from the slums, and we were amongst the best locations in the city there. So yeah, it was actually a mix of both my mom and dad to raise us well.
I
They
love
showed me
that.
hard work, being organized. It's Arzu
Uh-huh.
and these women doing that now. So now I
Good
believe,
stuff.
I really hope so. I go somewhere.
Good. It is true. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, as for me, it's like the same with you, Casey, because I also got my inspiration from my mother itself, herself, because she's a working woman and she loves working. She's very hardworking. I guess that's how I get my love for these, corporate offices and, get the job done easily and quickly and then being organized and all. So, I mean, it's pretty simple from my side. Like, for every woman, their first inspiration is always the mother because from childhood we know how they're taking care of the both. If she's working and then, she's also taking care of the household and the children. And there are some women who are working like in the corporate offices while they're having a multiple children. Myself it's me only and my little sister, but still it was inspiring for me to see how my mother's taking care of me, the household, like, and then she's very guest loving. She loves to give parties, so she loves all these meetings, teas, and all these, chit chats with women. So she will have always time to talk about something, invite people to to our home, and then just sit with them, and the next day, like without being tired, and then just go to home and then do her work.
True Wonder
Yeah,
Woman there.
I
Love
mean,
that.
being a father, sometimes me as a man, I think, how do you all do this?
Mhm.
Like patience with the kids. Oh my God, that's something I cannot do. Because when my daughter just starts uh, irritating me, I don't know, should I be saying that? But sometimes she just wants something and she just
Yeah.
wants it.
Yeah.
And I just see her mother being so calm and patient, and I'm like, all right, I need a 2-minute breather, and I just walk out of the room. I just breathe, I yell in my pillow, and I come back like, okay, yeah, where were we? I have never seen her. I have never seen my ex-wife or my mom doing that to me or my daughter ever in my life. I mean, so yeah, patience is also one more thing. So I believe that's where it begins, right, from our mothers, and y'all being women, like, y'all really catch it so quick, and men are slow. Let me accept this on this interview. We are very slow.
Well, yes, I think it's a balance, right? Like, and I think, men have different qualities, people have different qualities, right? And so that's what it takes, really. That's what, our relationships are so great, is that you can, one person has a certain set of strengths that the other person has that the other one doesn't have. And that's what makes it so beautiful. Our differences are okay, and they're actually good, right?
Oh,
Because we
yeah,
balance
they're important.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, these differences are very important. So yeah, it's just like, the maturity. So my mom keeps telling me, you do anything, but just try to do one thing. And I ask her, like, what? Like, just try to be on the same emotional maturity of a woman, and you'll do good. I'm like, all right.
I love all this.
That's the most difficult part for men.
Absolutely. And then I asked my mom, is it me or is it every man? She's like, not only every man living now, even the one's coming.
I see. Okay. Your mom sounds like a great lady.
Oh, my
advice.
mom's fun. My mom is too much fun. And she sometimes comes to the office, she's chilling over here. She has a time with the women, and and also with the guys. So yeah, it's great. It's great. So it's like a family run business, but owned by me. But they do not work here. They just come here to empower. Actually, my mom is really into this, and she really likes this, so she keeps coming and talking and asking if everything is fine, if the other men, because now hers is a new organization, so we work out of Mars's office, but there's a section where this section, it's hers is completely separate. So my mom keeps going there and asking all the women, because they are they've been rescued from a very different place, and so she keeps asking them as to everything is good, everything is fine. Are other people treating them well? Are they treating them equal? And so yeah, it's been great. So just being on that topic, I would want to ask you, women in the past, like our mothers, how different are they from our daughters? And if
I don't have any children myself. I never had kids. I don't think I probably will, unless I adopt.
That's great.
I think today's young ladies have stepped into their power more than ever before, like where they're owning their voice, in such a beautiful way, like your daughter, like, speaking up the way that she does. And I think in the past, maybe women had this courage, this amazing stuff inside of them, like our moms and our grandmas, but the society sort of boundaries and structure was not built to let that young lady have a platform. And she was they were not encouraged to speak up. They were encouraged to sort of, here's your box. Okay, you can be really amazing in this little box that we built for you, and you've got to make it work within your box. Don't think about trying to get on top of this bigger box. I think that's probably the biggest difference. Our young women aren't held back by that now. Like, they know they can do it, that there's platforms that are opening up. Of course, there's always more room to be done for equality and for as many seats at the table for women as there are for men, and so on and so forth. But I think things have improved dramatically in that way.
Right.
What do y'all?
So, I mean, I totally support it, but as a man, it's a challenge for me to understand what should be the priority of women today. So I really wanted to understand from you as to what would be the priority of, what should be the priority in today's time and age for women.
What should be, sorry, what about the priority? I wasn't clear on that.
I mean, the most important, how do you prioritize things? Like, how should women in today's time and age prioritize things? And what should they prioritize first? Is it their relations with their parents, the work, just to be happy, just to be content, just to be felt living in the world?
I think it depends on what's most important to that individual woman, right? Like, I think we're starting to move away from the slay all day, you can do everything mantra,
Oh,
because you
yes.
really can't. It's just like, I think women were being, like we have swung in the pendulum to the point where it's like, it's really, really hard, to your point about your mom having a career and taking care of the kids and entertaining and all that.
Absolutely.
For a lot of people, that's just too much. So you have to kind of, as far as prioritization, what brings you the most passion and fulfillment? Is it work? Is it family? Is it a hobby? Or is it a, something that you want to support, a cause in the community? And that's where you prioritize your time. It doesn't mean you never want to give 100% of yourself to one certain thing, but as far as the ratios for how you make decisions and where you put your time, whatever brings you the most passion and fulfillment should come at the top of that list, and then everything else should cascade down, right? That's how I feel about it. That's how I prioritize, based on that.
Yeah, I think
Amazing.
it can apply for all the women because, as you said, it's all depends on the individual, what they prioritize first, whether it's the family, job, or career, or anything else. So I couldn't agree more. But yeah, it is true.
Wow.
Excellent. And you just have to make sure that you have at least, like I said, don't put 100% on career, because if your career does go down or whatever, like, you're going to need your friends and your family to help support you, right? You're going to want to have interest, so that way you don't define your complete person as what I do at work, so you're going to want to make time for the other stuff, but no judgment to anyone. If it's, whether it's their family or their career where they give more of their time, that's their prerogative, and that should be okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, their own choices. I mean, that's an amazing answer. Thank you so much. So, the whole reason my mother was asking me about these interviews, like, what do you intend to do with these interviews? And I was like, I'm running an all-women's organization and I have a daughter.
Mhm.
And she's like, yes. And I was like, okay, I just want both of these things to be successful.
Mhm.
She's like, as a father, as an employer, or as individuals. I like either way, which it just works because these are the people surrounding you. I'm doing it for a cause. Okay, maybe my cause is a bit selfish to prove something to my daughter, but somewhere down the line, me speaking to her is also supporting a cause and making her stronger. So yeah, I mean, my mom is my biggest critic. So yeah, I mean, this is a learning phase. So on this question, I don't have views. For me, this is a learning curve. I'm learning on this question.
Okay.
So any questions that come forward, it's going to be learning for me. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying this. And our first interview being with you, Casey, it's so amazing because you've been so wonderful, you've been so open about it, and we still have a few more questions.
Oh yeah, no, I'll fire them away.
All right, perfect. So I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts about equality in pay and job designation if we had to make him versus her, like, a comparison?
Well, they should be equal. That's table stakes, and that's why a lot of companies are now starting to publish salaries transparently across the organization. So you can know, if I'm a marketing manager, this is what I should be, receiving as far as take home pay. So I'm a big proponent of that move as far as like being transparent with salaries across organizations. And I mean, that's how it's just no question. I mean, we're in 2022 at this point. Like, salary should be based on merit, skill, experience, and not necessarily what gender, that you've been born. So it's table stakes.
Well, absolutely. And do you think that we in this world struggle with this?
I think it probably comes, maybe in the past, it was like very clear, like, oh, of course, this is a senior male, we're going to give him more than Casey, who's a woman, who's maybe 10 years younger than him. Mind you, they might have a very similar career trajectory. Casey got there faster than Bob. But I think now it's more about implicit bias. So we might not say it or even think that we are giving someone a higher salary because they're a senior male. But I think those things are sort of like baked into the background of our subconscious about how decisions are made. Luckily, I haven't, experienced that in my career as of late, but I'm sure I did in the past when I was more junior, and I didn't know how to, like, I'm still kind of getting the training wheels off about like speaking up for myself and really looking into salaries and things like that. So I think it's more now like at the unconscious bias level.
That's a very fair answer. I mean, in our organization, it's pretty much the other way around. Women pick up more salary because, you know, we are more than skills, we are performance based and results oriented. And trust me, women give better results in work than men. You know, they don't have anything.
Great to hear.
Organized. Oh yeah, I mean, wouldn't you want to agree on this?
I mean, so you, oh, sorry, that was for her.
Oh, no, for you too.
Right.
For the two.
It sounds like you guys have got such an amazing organization of women there. I'd love to, I can't wait to follow your success and learn more about your team and things like that. But, you know, I have high performers on my team of both genders and non-genders, you know, as well. So I think that, you know, I've seen some really strong, you know, sales women on our organization, for example, that are really crushing it. They're like getting their opportunities left and right. So I don't know, you know, I think that it just depends on the individual. And the more that we see people as individuals versus gender, if we do think about gender, let's think about what they bring to the table as far as benefits versus limitations.
Yeah. That's a nice answer. So now coming to business, what in your view is the biggest challenge of being the head of marketing in this constantly developing and changing world? Or maybe the industry, either or both?
You know, the hardest thing is like trying to get your team to focus on a certain project or area or initiative, and then having to pivot as the industry or as trends change, because marketing, more than any other department, I'd say, like, has to be able to pivot on a dime. Right. And with great focus, that requires that concentration, pushing, you know, all of your other tasks aside to focus on that. And it's balance, right, of like learning how to keep your team focused on whatever initiative that you're focusing on now, with like, oh, guess what? Things are changing dramatically in the industry or in our market. We're going to have to pivot because this isn't working. And this is what we need to try to see if we can capitalize on this trend to get site traffic or to get, you know, pipeline in the door. That's probably the greatest challenge for marketers, is balancing those two things.
And what would be the one thing that you would change about this industry, or like, you know, the whole marketing field, that you think is like, you know, is supposed to change, or it requires more refining?
I think technology, technology, you know, was meant to empower us, and now it's sort of controlling us as marketers. Like, marketers are spending so much of their time in systems instead of being creative, instead of like designing the newest strategy. So I'd love to see technology shift to be more of a time saver for us and an empowerer of marketing teams, instead of like, now we're spending all of our days like doing a million different steps. Like, make it easier for the marketer, right? So that way they can be creative. Marketing is supposed to be a creative field.
Absolutely.
You know,
instead of just asking for leads. Instead of just talking about job titles and company sizes. So, you know, how does the company, so what you mean is, like, you know, you would want to see a more refined process of brainstorming, actually, if I would call that, you know, just being more creative rather than just running telemarketing, email marketing, programmatic and all of that, just to, like, you know, get some new results from better ways and better thoughts, right?
Yes, we need more brainstorming. We need more whiteboarding. We need people thinking like a kid again. We need, you know, people to be doodling more. Like, that's how great inspiring marketing campaigns come about, is when marketers are getting to use their brain, you know, and their spirits, and not like, okay, you know, a million different data points. Like, there's a time and place for that, but marketing is both an art and a science. And so come on, technology, help us out on the science part.
Yeah, true. I mean, recently, you know, when you were starting hers, and when you were approaching, you know, women leaders, and so now we started with the IT companies and their marketing managers. we're into the marketing field, we're into demand generation, we're into lead generation, we're into programmatic, and all kind of marketing. That's why we actually wanted to target marketing directors first, because we really wanted the women who are new over here, who are new in the field of working, who are new in the being liberal and being themselves, learning from what they're doing every day, because we're into marketing. So the whole interview process, more than publicizing it on LinkedIn, what we want to do from these interviews is make these women listen to people like yourselves, who have made it in the world, who've been strong, who've been fighting. And yeah, I mean, it's great. And I'm really glad, Casey, that you're the first one that we're doing right now, which takes me to your next question, which I would really I'm really intrigued, because you had a department, I had an organization. So I really want to learn. I really want to learn from you. So the next question of mine that I have is, what interview is the biggest challenge of being the head of a department, say marketing, in this constantly developing and changing world? How have you seen the behaviors changing from the seniors to juniors to mid-level, people reporting to you, or the person that you're reporting to? I mean, how has it changed, or the business trends? Business trends, of course, you've answered through technology. We've been modern technology now. But what about people? What has the change been?
Yeah, I think there's a big focus now in teaching young folks as they're starting their career, the concept of accountability, extreme accountability, and radical candor in their communication. So those are two concepts I really work with my team, and any team that I work with, honestly, is you've got to be accountable for everything that you do, right? So if you say that you're going to do a project, you're accountable for the success of that if you signed up for that. And being really thorough about checking every element, like of your campaign or of your marketing program. Is it working as expected? You've got to be extremely thorough, and you've got to be accountable back for your area of your domain within a marketing team. And so teams really are learning that, and that can be interesting as we're in a different kind of culture where a lot of younger folks are maybe not as used to tuning in completely when it comes to work, right? You've got to be on point 100%. And then the second thing would be about communication, is learning how to be extremely transparent and timely with your communication. So following up with people, did you say you were going to do something? Am I going to send an email back if I'm not done researching something to say, hey, I'm still checking on that for you, but I haven't forgotten about it. And so those two concepts, I think, with marketing teams, I'm seeing a trend in that within my own organization, of people really responding to that and seeing what kind of results you can get when you keep those two things on point, being extremely communicative with your team and being a person of character where people can count on my word, right? I'm going to do what I set out to do, because I owe that to you and to the team.
Yeah, I mean that's great, because even after seeing today the exposure that this lot of generation is getting, because we have come from a generation where we've seen no phones to landline phones to mobile phones, and now phones and watches.
Yeah.
I mean, phones and watches. I mean, such a transition, and I mean, I don't even know after this, do we even have to carry phones, or do we just
mental Wi-Fi? Yeah,
mental Wi-Fi, because I believe now they already have Li-Fi. Wherever the light reaches is where, until you have the internet, which is already being implemented in IBM across all locations, and in Japan it's really common. So I used to work for a market research organization before this, and that's when we were making reports and making studies about it. So, and now they've started implementing from August, I believe. IBM has started implementing, and Japan already has. So yeah, it's a changing world, and things are changing. So I'm just supporting your answer. That's it.
That's cool. No, coming soon, brain Wi-Fi. So you heard it here first. It hit the lights. That's great.
So it's Li-Fi. So the Li-Fi thing is real now, and it was just beyond imagination even 10 years ago. So
that's wild.
Anything can happen in this world.
Yeah.
And from your experience, what is the one takeaway you would like to share with women to empower them in the technology industry for the growth?
Yeah, say step into your power, like really don't be afraid to speak up. Like your gut instinct as a woman, we have really strong intuition about situations. And a lot of times we have that, but we don't speak up. I find that I'm coaching a lot of young women and like trust your gut, trust your instinct, speak truth to those thoughts that are going on in your head, because they're probably it's probably just the thing that this group of people need to hear. You're bringing a perspective that the rest of the room doesn't have. So I'd say for that, it's, sometimes not always the loudest voice in the room is the most intellectual or powerful opinion. So don't be afraid, like if your voice isn't the loudest, because I feel like women just really need to be like, it's okay to speak up. And if someone is dominating the conversation, to raise your hand and say, like, I actually have an opinion on that and share it, politely, of course.
Yeah, I think that's the most valuable advice you could give to any woman, like, who's going to listen to this interview, because as you said, trusting your intuition is very much important. And then, putting your opinions up frontly to the table and then voicing out your opinions and whatever you think about a particular topic is one of the most significant steps for women, to get empowered in all aspects of her life.
100%. That resonated.
Yeah. And lastly, I just have this really important question to you, because I had personally put this question in the questionnaire. Like, if you could, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I thought this was a great question. I was thinking about little Casey and when I would tell her two things. One, take more math classes, because you'll really be able to use that. If you're the spreadsheet whiz, it'll take you really far in life. And then two, join the debate club. Learn how to argue, right? Learn how to make a point that is compelling with facts and that wins over audiences. So yeah, those are the two things I'd tell little Casey. Don't forget these things.
Arzu, what would it be for you?
I think I could agree with Casey more on the debating part, because I love discussing about ideas, and then I'm sometimes quite stubborn when it comes to my opinions, and I try my best, to make myself right and all. But
I agree.
And sometimes I think for any individual while growing up, one of the difficult parts that anyone can come across is like accepting someone's different, that they might have a different perspective, and then they might have a different opinion, and then this is being said that it doesn't change your opinions and perspectives as well. I think that's one of the important lessons any individual will learn throughout his or her life. So I mean, this is one of the advice I would give to younger myself, like from the younger, learn to accept other opinions. There are other perspectives, so it is all different. It is very much different than you think it is.
Wow,
that's great. Yeah, two perspectives can exist at the same time, right?
Exactly. I mean, they have to coexist, otherwise I don't see any other way around.
Yes, if it got to coexist.
Yeah, it is kind of really important there. So I am done with my question. Arzu, could you just stop the recording, please?
Yep, just a minute.